Hello, everyone. This is Sinema77, horror and cult film lover. I'm back with another movie review, and I would really like to talk about this movie from 1980 that I don't think it gets very much love or praise, and I really find that that's a shame. I think, well, because the movie is technically it's a slasher movie, but it came out like around the time, in the early 80s where all of a sudden now slasher movies were starting to become a thing, and it seemed like every time you turn around there was going to be a new one out. But the movie we're talking about is Eyes of a Stranger. And this is, I do really feel that this is a really underrated movie that doesn't get the love or respect that it deserves. I think it's a very good film. It's a very pro female film. The movie is directed by Ken Widerhorn, who directed Shockwaves and Return of the Living Dead Part Two. And it was doing movies like this. Unfortunately, that Widerhorn was getting he was getting upset about making these kind of movies, and he didn't want to do them anymore. And ultimately, that's what making movies like this unfortunately led to him making Return of the Living Dead Part Two so goofy. But I really think he should have been proud of this movie. I really do. He should have been proud of it. He should have really embraced it. And this movie, it has a lot going for it. I mean, first of all, it's the very first movie appearance of Jennifer Jason Leigh. So, the first movie she was ever in, a horror film, like so many actors and actresses. She got her start doing a horror film. You got some really good, interesting special effects here by Tom Savini. So, pretty much right after he did Friday the 13th. And so, yeah, I mean, this movie really has a lot going for it. And I believe the Lauren Tews. I'm sorry, I'm probably mispronouncing that name. She stars in the movie. She stars as Jane. She's a well, she's a TV news reporter. And at the beginning of the movie, there's the body of a dead woman found, pretty much in like a river, stream. And Jane is, she's on the air and she's reporting the story, but she's kind of like really pushing, telling women, please be careful, please, don't, uh, you know, don't go with anybody you don't trust, take care of each other, take care of yourselves, be mindful of your surroundings, things like that. And so, she's just kind of going on, trying to, and everybody's kind of like, okay, Jane, we kind of get the point. We need to keep the show going. She's, yeah, but I just think that it's important that, that women take care of themselves. And they're like, yeah, I couldn't agree more, Jane, but we got to get on with the show. So meanwhile, so while the news report is going on, there in this bar, you have this waitress named Debbie, and the bartender she's working with is, he's telling her like, yeah, did you see on the news they found another girl murdered, and please take care of yourself, be careful going home and all this stuff, and she jokes with him. She's like, oh come on, if I can handle this crowd, I can handle anything. So she goes home and she's just kind of kicking back, and she changes her outfit to relax and stuff, and making herself a drink, and she's cutting limes. She's using like a meat cleaver to cut limes, which comes into play in a minute. But so she's just trying to get back and enjoy her night after a hard day's work, and innocent enough, but she starts receiving these phone calls, and we keep seeing this kind of big guy. You don't really get a look at his face just yet, but he's standing in a phone booth back when they had phone booths, and he keeps just taunting her, and he's just going on and on. Debbie, Debbie, are you wearing a bra, Debbie? I'm going to kill you, Debbie, and all this stuff. And so she's yelling into the phone, stop calling me, you fucking creep, and all this other kind of stuff. And so she's scared and she's nervous, and she's you get a jump scare where she goes and she opens her door, and her boyfriend, he's wearing a mask, does the boo thing, and she's got the cleaver in her hand. It's like, whoa, 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 hey, it's like, damn, baby, this was a joke, you didn't need to go that far with it. But she explains to him what happens. This guy, he won't stop calling me. He won't stop bothering me. Even at one point, though, I mean, that's one of the things, though, too. Okay, that's another reason why I think that this movie is underrated, because this isn't one of those situations where, the woman is just doing, the audience isn't doing what the audience would sit there and say. She's just constantly doing stupid stuff. I mean, like some people say, well, why didn't she call the police? She does call the police. And then they basically kind of give her the runaround. Well, there's just not really much we can do for you. And, maybe, you check back later. We might be able to see about maybe like putting a tap on your phone or something, but for right now, yeah, it's probably just somebody playing a prank on you, that kind of thing. So it's not like so it's like, it's not like she's not being proactive. I mean, she is trying to, she is trying to do the right thing. She is trying to do the smart thing, so, it's not really, this to me, this isn't really one of those movies where you sit there and just constantly say the women in this movie is just doing intensely stupid shit and, they deserve to die for it. No, it's like they're doing the wise thing. They're doing the smart thing. They're doing what any logical person would do in this situation. But anyway, though, so she tells her boyfriend about what's going on and she asks him, can I stay over at your place for the night? And he's all like, yeah, sure. Yeah, no problem, baby. And so she's like, okay, let me just get changed and get some stuff, kind of overnight bag kind of a thing, and I'll be ready in just a minute. He's like, okay. So he's sitting there, he's watching TV and stuff, and she's, in the bedroom getting ready. Well, unbeknownst to him, behind him, there's a guy coming up with the meat cleaver that she was using earlier, and off goes the guy's head. And so she's in the bedroom. She hears like a crashing noise and everything. And she goes out to investigate. And she's like, what have you done now? Did you break something? And then she sees his headless body laying on the floor. And we see his head right here floating in the fish tank, which that was an incredible special effect that Tom Savini did. And you come to find out, if you ever come across his books, Grand Illusions, how he did his special and makeup effects for movies and things like that. Oh yeah, look into it because he gives pretty much all the details explaining how this effect was done, and actually that is the actor there, and that that the bookcase is fake, and he's actually sitting on a chair, and so yeah, I mean it's actually really really impressive how he does these special effects and things. And so unfortunately, poor Debbie, uh, she gets attacked by the killer here, and he takes her into the bedroom, and she's trying to fight him off, and she's trying to get him off of her and everything, and he ends up starts hitting her, and you get the he takes off his belt, which he's going to use to strangle her, and so unfortunately that's pretty much what happens to poor Debbie. So now we go back to Jane, who she's in her apartment with her boyfriend Peter, and he's talking about like he loves being with her. They have a great time together. They're having a great relationship, but he wants to take it further. He wants them to be closer together. He's saying, there's a lot of closet space, and I got a lot of space in my drawers that you could occupy if you want them. And she's all like, don't get me wrong, I love being in a relationship with you, but it's just I'm worried about my sister Tracy, who is the character that Jennifer Jason Leigh ends up playing in the movie. So, but anyway, though, so she starts talking about like, well, Tracy is, my sister, and I can't really like, you know, do this to her right now, not when she's so fragile and things like that. And he's all like, I understand that, she's fragile and stuff, but, at one point, you need to let her know that we're having a relationship and that it's serious, but I'm not asking you to give her up. I'm not asking you to turn your back on your sister or anything like that. I'm just asking us to be more, exclusive together. And she's all like, well, I'm kind of busy. I got to work tomorrow. I can't really talk about it right now. So she goes to her apartment, and, there's an underground parking garage. And so she notices this kind of, suspicious looking car. And this man, this large man gets out, and played by John DeSanti. And so he goes off, and, she's like, yeah, something kind of looks weird. And she sees him stuffing a shirt, into the garbage and everything. And it looks like there's blood on the shirt. Well, she doesn't think of anything of it. And then the next morning, Tracy here, played by Jennifer Jason Leigh, I believe, if I remember, yeah, she's blind. She's kind of blind and mute, and she can't see. But we find out why. But she seems like she functions really, really well. She's feeding the dog, she's making breakfast. She's doing all kinds of things, and so Peter comes to visit Jane, and so she's all like, well, let's sit and have breakfast together and stuff like that. And Tracy, she's doing, sign language, things like that. And he's all like, "What is she saying?" And she's all, "What, would he like a?" I'm sorry, his name is not Peter, it's David. She's like, "Would David like a cup of coffee?" And so he's like, "Yeah, sure." So anyway, so she goes and Tracy, she goes and she gets a laundry basket and stuff, and he's all like, "What's she doing?" She's like, "Well, she's going down to do the laundry." He's like, "Tracy does laundry?" So it's like, "Yeah, she can do a lot of things." It's like, well, it's all like, I'm not saying that. It's just kind of the way you make her sound is like she's completely helpless, like she can't do anything on her own. So anyway, so they're trying to build the relationship between these two, and so anyway, so Jane, she's going back to work, and she's reporting on another story, and once again, she's really like pushing on it that women need to take care and that they need to, do a better job of keeping an eye on each other and stuff like that. And so everybody, yeah, we agree, Jane, we agree, but you're kind of going overboard and stuff like that. So anyway, and then there's another case of a victim. This poor woman who's just working as a secretary in an office, and she starts getting calls, and and he's threatening her, and saying kind of like along the lines same things he said to Debbie. And so she's in the office all alone, and she wants to get out, and so she goes and she's like, "Piss on this! I'm out of here for the night." And so she goes into the elevator, and so he keeps calling her. He even calls her on the phone in the elevator. And so she goes and she actually, before she leaves, she calls a friend of hers, and she asks her, "Can I come and stay at your place for the night?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure." It's like, "This creep just keeps calling me. He won't leave me alone and everything else. Please let me come and stay the night with you." And she's like, "Yeah, of course you can come stay with me. Okay, I'm leaving right now," and everything. So so she goes out to the garage and she gets in her car, and unfortunately, being a horror film, the killer, he's hiding in the back seat of the car. So he pops up, grabs her, pulls her into the back seat, and unfortunately, that's the last of the poor girl. So anyway, so a few minutes later, we see that the car that is actually the car that Jane noticed earlier is going to dump the body off, and nearby there's a couple that's making out in a car, and this guy's car gets stuck, and so it's stuck in the mud. He's trying to get it out, and the guy who's making out with the girl in the other car, he's all like, "Okay, this shit's gonna drive me up the wall." He's like, "I'm gonna go help this guy and just get him out of here." So he stopped bothering us. So so the guy gets out of the car and he goes up, and so anyway, so he goes up to the car, and he's knocking on the window. Well, he doesn't see it, but the guy takes out a switchblade knife, and he ends up, sorry sorry about that. For some reason my picture went off there, but anyway, so he's knocking on the window, and unbeknownst to him, the guy pulls out a switchblade knife, and he's all like, "Hey buddy, you need help?" And so he turns around, he sticks the knife into the guy's neck, which Tom Savini would show you how does that trick too, which would be take a razor, take a switchblade knife, cut the cut the tip of it off, and just run up a fake blood tube behind it. There you go. And so the girl, she's hiding in the car, or she's not hiding in the car, but she's waiting in the car for a man to come back. Well, the guy comes up behind her. Well, actually, the guy comes up and hits up against the window, and he's got blood pouring out of his neck and everything. And so she backs up against the passenger seat window, where the guy comes up behind her, and the windows roll down, so he's able to reach in and cut her throat, and then she ends up dying. And then now we see Jane. She's going home, and she's now she notices his car and is getting even more suspicious, and so she's kind of starting to put two and two together that there's something, this guy in this car and everything, there's just something not really quite right about him. And so she starts looking into him and starts kind of checking out, and and there's this great suspenseful scene where she goes and she's able to she's able to get the keys to the apartment that he's in, and so she goes in there and she checks in a very good suspenseful scene. He comes home, and she just barely manages to get out. And the thing is, this is like a high-rise apartment building, and so she's hanging off of the balcony, and she just barely manages to get to the balcony of the apartment below. and it's kind of a comical scene. She goes in and there's this old couple sitting there having breakfast, and she's, "Excuse me, good morning." And she runs out, but she's able to find some evidence, which she tries to take to David. And unfortunately, he's like, yeah, I can't do anything with this. And she's like, well, you could test it to see if, like the mud matches and this and that and all this stuff. He's like, here's the problem. Even if I did do that, what's going to end up happening is if I try to take, this guy to court over this, it's going to be completely thrown out because you ended up getting this illegally. So, you have no search warrant or anything like that. The judge would just turn around and throw it out because you violated his privacy and all that stuff. And she's like, but what about the rights of these girls and stuff like that? It's like, I understand that you're upset about this, but, it's like, there's just no way I can't use it. There's nothing I can do with it. And so, of course, she's upset about it. And she decides, well, she needs to kind of get something out of this guy. So, and also she's familiar too with his pattern that he's calling all these girls and taunting them and harassing them and stuff like that. So she ends up getting his phone number, and she starts calling him, and it's great. It's wonderful how that's done because she ends up she's calling him, and she's saying things like, you're not going to get away with this. She calls him up, tells him, I know who you are. She's like, I'm gonna fry you for this and all this other kind of stuff. And so it's wonderful. It's a wonderful thing to see the tables turn on this guy who gets such pleasure out of calling these women and terrifying them and harassing them and scaring them to death. To see him get a dose of his own medicine, it's fantastic. It's wonderful. It's great. I love that they did that in this movie. I really do. But see, here's the problem though, too. At the same time, he's been eyeing Tracy, Jennifer Jason Leigh. He's been eyeing her, and so he's starting to get ready to go, plan that she's going to be the next victim. Well, we end up finding out through dream sequences and stuff like that. We end up finding out that the reason why, Tracy is the way she is. She can't see. She's mute. She doesn't speak. It turns out that she was abducted when she was a little girl, and she was abducted by a man who molested her and did terrible things to her and stuff. And she barely made it out alive. But she's so traumatized by it that she lost her eyesight and she lost her ability to speak. But the thing was, the reason why Jane is so hard up or hard on about it is that the fact that Jane was supposed to be watching her when she was abducted, and so Jane feels personally responsible, which, it's like, it was a horrible thing that happened, but, it's all like, it wasn't really her fault or anything like that. It's just, but Jane, does feel personally responsible. And we find out that that's why, like, Jane is having such a problem with her relationship with David and everything else. She feels like she should not, she felt like she let Tracy down before. She's not going to do it again, which, I mean, that's a great character arc, for her to have. That's a good, that's a good positive thing for her character to go through. But anyway, so meanwhile, while, Jane is like really trying to get evidence to try to, get this guy and everything else, it finally gets to the point where he goes to their apartment, and he's, playing. He realizes that, Tracy is blind. She can't see. And so he starts, taunting her and, messing with her, like, she's trying to cut herself a piece of cake, and he's like hiding the knife, or he's like, all this. And so she finally catches on that there's somebody in the apartment with her, and turns out that she's like clapping for the dog and stuff, but the dog's dead. He ends up killing the dog, and so he starts trying to attack Tracy, and rips her shirt open and tries to rape her basically. And meanwhile, Jane is in his apartment, and she's looking over, and she sees what's going on. And she says, "Oh no, Jane!" Or no, Jane, Jesus, Tracy. God, I'm sorry, it's late. It's late, and I'm sorry. Please forgive me. But anyway, she's Tracy, so she goes to help her, and so so they're fighting and everything else. But Tracy's, she's little bit by little bit, she's starting to get her sight back. It's blurry and everything, but she's able to find the gun that her sister has. And, the guy's coming up, he's about ready to pounce on her. And so she's able to shoot him, in the stomach. And so he, was trying to get at her. And so she gets blood on her and stuff like that. And so he falls down and pretty much, you think he's dead. And so anyway, just one second. Usually I'm more professional than this, aren't I? But anyway, though, so, she believes that he's dead. And so she goes and she's realizing she's starting to see now. And she sees this is what she looks like. And, she's curious and she's looking at her body and stuff like that. And it's not done in a sexual way. It's just, she's just kind of more like, this is me. This is, because she's never really seen what she looked like. And she's like, oh, this is me. This is who I am. This is what I look like and things like that. So anyway, then he comes into the bathroom. Turns out he's not dead. And, he's coming in to finish the job. And Jane is able to get there. And just in time, she gets a hold of the gun and she goes into the bathroom and she shoots him in the head. And he goes through the glass there of the shower. And you see, it's like, this great special effect that Tom Savini did where, you see the bullet hole and like blood pouring out and everything. And it looks beautiful. It looks organic. It's like Savini did a great job on the effects in this movie. And so, but then it's revealed to Jane that Tracy can now see. And she's kind of stumbling through the word, but she's able to say her sister named Jane. And so, kind of like, so if anything good was to come out of this is that, Tracy is, able to get her speech back. She's able to get her sight back, things like that. So, yeah, but overall, this is a really good movie. I think this movie is, it's a great film. It's a great movie to, promote, awareness for women, to promote, to be positive for women, things like that, to not show women as victims, to show that women, if you push a woman hard enough, she can and she will fight back, and it's great to see, and this is one of those movies. You cheer for them. You cheer for Tracy. You cheer for Jane, it's like there might be somebody, well, maybe somebody who's sexist, but there might be somebody out there who would watch this movie and really, go against Jane and say, like, why is she sticking her nose in this? She's got no business and everything else. But it's like, at the same time, though, too, it's like, well, if Jane didn't do this, think of how many other poor innocent women who didn't deserve to die are going to end up dying because of this guy. So Jane really is a female hero in the movie, and it's great. It's a positive movie for women and stuff. I mean, even though women are being shown as victims in this movie, that it's great to see a woman fight back. But see, I mean, I know too, like the cover here doesn't exactly do a lot of favors, does it? Because I mean, clearly it shows there's going to be violence against women in the movie, but unfortunately, though, like I said, though, this movie is great because it shows women fighting back. And like I said, too, I thought that was an absolutely wonderful, brilliant idea, was to have this guy who, before he kills these women, he's like calling them up and he's scaring them and threatening them and doing all these other kind of things to him, that they turn around, they give him a dose of his own medicine. And so he has to experience what he's putting these women through. And it's great to see him kind of, get shit dumped on him too. So I mean, it's good. It's a really good movie. I think it's really underrated. If you come across it, I believe you can watch it on YouTube for free. I got it here in this DVD pack. You can buy the DVD separately, but I really do. I think that this is a great movie. It's almost like you can almost watch this movie if it wasn't for the Tom Savini gore effects. I mean, you could pretty much watch this movie on Lifetime Network. It definitely seemed like a movie that would have been on Lifetime Network, but yeah, I mean, it's a good movie, good performances. Jennifer Jason Leigh, she's, even though she spends most of the movie as, blind and mute and things, that, she still gives a good performance, and you knew she's going to be, great talent. Everybody delivers, all this stuff. So yeah, I definitely recommend it. Please, if you get a hold of it, also too, this is the kind of movie too, I hate to say it, but if you got like, if you know a woman either in your family or friends or girlfriend, wife or whatever, and if they're the kind that's always sitting there like, oh, horror movies are nothing but just anti-women kind of movies, get them to watch this. and say, yeah, it starts off that there is violence against women, but there are women in the movie who fight back and give this guy, what he deserves, give him what's coming to him. So that's what's great about it. There's no, because like I said, she tries to go to David with, what she's finding out, but he just kind of, like, I can't do anything about it. Nobody else can do anything about it. So she pretty much takes it in her own hand. And then it's down to her and Tracy, and both of them, save the day at the end of the movie. So it's a great movie. I think it is anyway. So, but anyway, I think that's it. I think I've, crusaded long enough, don't you? So anyway, that's going to do it. If anybody took the time to watch all this, I thank you for doing it, and I appreciate you for doing it. I honestly hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe. I do weekly reviews. I got all kinds of videos I'm trying to think of to do and everything. So hopefully I can make some good, fun, entertaining videos for everybody to watch. And that's it for tonight. So until then, this is Cinema 77, horror cult film lover. And, thanking you once again. Have a good night, and I'll see you later.